Today, I'm going to help you understand lease option versus seller financing. So where do lease options fit under the seller financing umbrella? Well, by the end of this video, you're going to have a clear understanding of the differences between, say, lease options and seller financing and how they fit together. You'll understand the advantages and disadvantages of each and how to decide which strategy fits best for your real estate investing needs. Seller financing is such a broad strategy that sometimes it requires subcategories to better understand sub-strategies under a larger umbrella strategy. And understanding these things and these differences can make all the difference in the world when it comes to investing in real estate. Lease options can be super powerful, but understanding those is the key to seeing success versus falling into a potential pitfall that could cost you money and damage down the road. So let's first dive in by first explaining what we mean when we say seller financing. Next, I'll explain lease options and how they fit under the umbrella of seller financing. And finally, I'm going to detail out a killer strategy that I'm utilizing right now that's a seller financing strategy, but I'm utilizing lease options that is absolutely crushing it in today's market with little to no money out of my pocket. If you are ready, let's go. So let's first dive into seller financing. Seller financing essentially is an alternative option to sell your home where you as the seller are essentially becoming the bank versus somebody going out and getting a traditional bank loan and paying the bank, they're paying you. It allows the buyer to deal directly with the seller rather than dealing with the bank on that property that the buyer is purchasing from the seller. And when it comes to seller financing, there are a lot of strategies that fit under that umbrella, whether it's novations, sub 2, and lease options is actually a strategy that falls under that umbrella. A lease option essentially is a delayed purchase, right? It allows somebody to rent to own, rent a home for a certain period of time, and then at the end of that period, buy the home from the seller. And typically that's 2 years down the road. So a lease option gives the buyer the option to buy a home from the seller at a certain price at a certain date down the road, and that's all agreed upon upfront. So if you're a buyer looking to buy a home, how does a lease option benefit you? Well, number one, you get to test drive the home, so to speak, right? You're renting the home. You have the option to buy it, but you're not obligated. However, in order to be able to have that option at a certain date down the road at a certain price, you have to pay what's called an option price. And it's typically 2 to 7% of the purchase price of the home. However, you're not obligated, right? So if you came into the home, you found out it's going to be a money pit, you could back out of it at the end of the lease and not be obligated to purchase it. However, if it's a good deal, it's a great home, that option price you paid is counted towards your down payment. If you don't, the seller still keeps that option payment. And also with a lease option, you can utilize this strategy if you're a buyer to build up enough money to buy the home, because there's a clause that allows a certain percentage, a certain amount of that monthly payment paid every month to be counted towards the down payment. So not only is that option price paid up front and a little bit of the monthly payment counted towards your down payment, but you put those two things together and you've accumulated a decent amount of cash over a 2-year period of time that will be utilized to help you with your down payment. And it's a great strategy for those that can't qualify for a loan right now or need a little bit of time to be able to build up their credit. Lease options, like I said, are powerful. I developed a strategy I'm doing right now with lease options, and I call it cash flow flipping. And here's exactly how it works. I'm looking for homes in the Midwest that are under $100,000. And I need homes that I can get 20 to 30% below market value or what they're listed at. So I'm putting a lot of offers out there. I might only get 1 or 2 out of 10 that are accepted. However, I'm not using my own money. I'm using private money, and they're charging me 8 to 12% interest on that. But I'm gonna walk you through a scenario and explain exactly why they're willing to do that and how this works. So let's take worst case scenario. Let's say I'm borrowing money at 12%. I see a home listed at $70,000. I put an offer in there for $45,000. Let's say that we settle at $50,000. And because I'm paying cash and I'm closing quickly on this home, the seller is probably more motivated to sell it to me than somebody else because they don't have to wait or see if the bank's going to finance somebody to buy it. So I've got this home for $50,000. Now the private money lender is excited because they have a home that's probably appraised at $70,000 that they are in first position on at $50,000. And they're charging me 12%. 12% of $50,000 is $6,000. Every single month, I'm making an interest-only payment to that private money lender. $6,000 divided by 12 is $500 a month. So that's my payment to borrow that money at 12%. Now, once I have this home in my possession, I turn around and I try to find a buyer utilizing a lease option. Because I'm utilizing a lease option, a seller financing strategy, I'm pulling potential buyers out of the woodworks. They're able to rent to own this home. And I'm listing it or giving to them at $70,000, and they have the option to buy that home from me and live in it for 2 years at $70,000. Now, they probably just saw that this home was listed at $70,000 a month ago. So they're feeling pretty good that they can buy it at that same price 2 years down the road. So I've got it under contract and a lease option rent to own agreement at $70,000 2 years down the road. Now, they've got to pay me an option price up front to be able to have that. And let's say they pay me $2,000. So I receive $2,000 that'll count towards the down payment. And let's say the lease price they're paying me every month, the rental price is $1,000. I'll take $100 of that and count towards the down payment. So 2 years down the road, they've been renting it for $1,000 a month. I take $100 a month times 24 months, they've got $2,400 plus the option price they pay me of $2,000. They have $4,400 towards their down payment. And if they were to go to a bank and say, listen, I'm buying this home for $70,000, they say, listen, you're gonna live there, we'll charge you 5% as your down payment, 5% of $70,000 is $3,500. They have more than enough for their down payment that they made over a period of time and that option money up front. Now, my scenario, I got $1,000 a month, I netted $900, but of that $900, I paid $500 a month as an interest-only payment, so I made $400 a month over that 2 year period of time, which is $9,600. When they close on that home, I get $70,000. I take $50,000 of that and I pay off my private money lender. I've made over 2 years about $30,000 on one home. What if you could do this with 30, 50, or 100 homes? And this private money lender is going to be super excited to continue to borrow me money at 12%. It is a win-win-win for everybody involved. And if you want to know how to do this strategy step by step, I've written a book called Cash Flow Flipping. You just click on this link below, cashflowflipping.com, and it's all yours, 100% free, no questions asked. Thanks for stopping by. Have an amazing day.